Greetings and welcome into the Sports Shuffle.
We
Yes, we're
weren't
back.
originally planning on potting today, but when you have news popping like it's popping, we gotta pod, even if it's a short one.
So let's hit a couple quick little blurbs that have come out in the last day or so. Tim Patrick of the Denver Broncos torn
Ooh,
ACL done
wah,
for the season.
wah.
And Marquise Hollywood Brown arrested on criminal speeding charges today. Shouldn't be a big impact
Dude,
for him this season. And one more pretty sizable note, Alvin Kamara's legal trial that was set to happen this week, I believe, has been pushed back 2 months. The NFL suspension process typically waits until the legal process concludes. So this means it's likely any suspension for Alvin Kamara will not happen until either late this season or more than likely going into 2023. So those are three normally kind of high-end news stories, but today, let's start with yesterday first. We'll go chronologically. I'm wearing a Dolphins jersey because that was the big news until about an hour ago.
yeah, as of course,
Dolphins got smacked.
that's putting it mildly. As of course, the news broke that the NFL suspended Dolphins owner Stephen Ross for the first 6 weeks of the 2022 season. But wait, that's not all. What's behind door number two for the Dolphins flying?
Behind door number two for the Well, let's keep with Stephen Ross first. He was fined
Yeah,
$1.5 million. Now he's a
that's about
multi-billionaire.
$5 for him.
Yeah, this is about a jaywalking ticket for the normal person. He was also removed from all NFL committee sightings and barred from a lot of meetings for the next few months or up to a full year, I believe it was. Depends on the committee and I think committee was actually indefinite.
They gave him a serious smacketh down.
Yes, and the that's the owner side. The team side is the Dolphins are forfeiting their personal because they have one from the 49ers, so they will still have a first round pick next year. They're forfeiting their 2023 first round draft pick and a 2024 third round draft pick, the ones that are designated by the league for the Dolphins based on their finishing record in the regular season or playoffs, depending on where their season ends. So again, 2023 first rounder that the Dolphins own organically, naturally, has been forfeited. They will still have their San Francisco 49er trade first round pick, and they're forfeiting the 2024 third rounder on top of all the punishment for Stephen Ross. And you may be asking, oh, well, why?
Well, because it's interesting. This is not because of anything connected to the Brian Flores lawsuit,
Not at
nor
all.
nor is it connected to the allegations that Stephen Ross ended up allegedly made a deal with Brian Flores to go ahead
Attempted
and
to make a deal, yeah.
lose games on purpose. No,
So
all
before we
of
get to the real reason, let's go into what you just said, why this wasn't involved. Stephen Ross was open about, hey, if we lose games, our draft pick will be better. Things you don't say out loud as an NFL owner or GM, because
mm-mm.
we all know at a certain point we've had a bad football team we've rooted for the most part. And at some point you go, well, we're better off losing. And in 2019, apparently Dolphins fans and Stephen Ross all agreed that losing was the better option for the team long term. It led to them getting Tua with what they did, but if they'd kept losing, they could have gotten Joe Burrow, which frankly looks like a better option right now. It's still 2 years into the career of each. But they said there was no credible evidence that there was any suggestion or direction from management to any player or coaches that said you were going to lose games. There was no firm offer. It was basically one of those, whoa, I should just give them $100,000 to lose games. Ha ha ha. Is what the NFL is claiming. And they're saying the Dolphins, to their credit, the coaches and the players did not intentionally lose games in 2019. So all of that punishment is not affiliated with it. They still have the Brian Flores uh, racism, Rooney Rule interviews just to satisfy the Rooney Rule issue still circulating out there. So Brian Flores is not, that whole saga still has a chapter to play out. But the crazy, crazy rumors we heard a few months ago turns out were true.
But what he did get in trouble for was apparently tampering with two certain individuals who were still under contract at the time. And both individuals were, of course, number one, Tom Brady. And this was not apparently with the Bucks. This was with the
It was with both.
Patriots.
It was with both.
It was with the both. And then of course, Sean Payton, because you had the rumors pop up that Brady was going to go to Miami, he was ditching the Bucks, and then you would have be a coach under Sean Payton. If you can imagine, that would be like a dream team nightmare alone, not for any
Not for me.
on any
That's
other
that's an
teams.
ideal. Yeah.
But so that's why he ended up getting trouble, was for tampering and having negotiations with agents of both players in inappropriate times.
So to break this down, during free agency, there is a legal tampering period and there are rules in place. Outside of that time period, anybody who is technically under contract with the team, and it's only about 3 days before the official start of free agency that this period even exists. Outside of that time, any player under contract cannot be contacted by another member of a franchise organization team, not including players, but coaches, management, ownership. Tom Brady, when he was with the New England Patriots, there was a contact, I think it was Beal, I don't remember, but was going and having these conversations. Hey, maybe you want to come to Miami next year. Maybe you want to come down to South Florida and see how that's like. We're going to offer you an ownership position. This happened 2019 into 2020 while he was with the New England Patriots, into the postseason with the Patriots his last year there. And then it continued into 2021 when he was with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So this is not just a slight against the New England Patriots in the division. It's also against Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And then they had contact with the agent for Sean Payton to come and be a coach / partial owner of the Miami Dolphins. He retires seemingly with time left that he could be a coach in the NFL. Tom Brady retires very similar time frame. And suddenly it looks like maybe he is going to finally go to Miami. Falls apart. But the best part about the Sean Payton side of things is they had the impermissible conduct. They actually had talked to him, went through it. And then once Sean Payton retires, the Dolphins actually asked for permission to talk to Sean Payton and his agent, and the Saints declined. So, yeah, they knocked on the door after they already kicked it in. And, not a good look for the ownership group of the Miami Dolphins. I don't think this goes down to the players and coaches necessarily. GM Chris Greer probably not necessarily involved with the Sean Payton thing. I don't know about the Tom Brady, but the Tom Brady thing was something that Brian Flores brought up as well. The meeting on the yacht that was rumored to have happened, he threw it out there, but the player wasn't specified, and everybody thought, oh, that's got to be Tom Brady. He was a free agent at that time. He had the connection to New England. It's got to be Tom Brady, right? Turns out all those wacky rumors were actually true.
So does this set up a potential Brady to Miami next year?
No, I think that's done. I think if he was going to go, it would have had to have already happened.
It's been. You think there's been too much flap and there's too much publicity behind the story that's called we got to start.
As far as being a player, I think that ship has sailed. But if he wants to go and be an owner, a la like what Derek Jeter did with the Marlins down the line, and be an owner for the Dolphins, okay, that's still in play. I mean, that's a business opportunity. Brady's got as much money as anybody, and he's not the breadwinner of his own family, from what I understand. So if Brady wants to come and be an owner, that's going to be open. I have a feeling at some point Stephen Ross is going to be pushed out, even though he's only the second worst owner in football. He's at least not going in front of Congress. So, yeah, we'll get into that later. But yeah, that I think as a player, that ship has sailed. I don't think many Dolphins fans ever really wanted to see Brady in a Dolphins uniform because he was the cause of nightmares for too long. But it's a very interesting situation. You got to wonder if Mike McDaniel is the head coach because Sean Payton decided he didn't want to be involved with everything that was going on. And you got to remember when Brian Flores left town, he took he took it with him. He took some guys with him. He took Stephen Ross down with him for sure. And I think maybe he said, maybe that's not the situation I want to deal with. And I think that's going to be similar for Brady as well.
Yeah, just absolutely nuts. Just it's rare because it's not so rare to have a player be suspended. Maybe a little bit rarer for a coach to be suspended, but the rarest thing of all has happened: an owner suspended.
Yeah. So Stephen Ross basically tampered against three different teams: the Bucks, the Patriots, and the Saints. You got to wonder how that's going to affect his standing with the league. The ownership group's always been very tight, but you got to wonder how that's going to stand going forward. If that's maybe going to make him a pariah around the NFL ownership group, and possibly lead to him having to sell the team, which I think, as a Dolphins fan, I can say is definitely what we want to happen. Now, that was the big news from yesterday. The reason we are podcasting today, though, is because it wasn't just that one story yesterday. We could have come back next week, talked about that, a little less detail, but talked about it and moved on. However, we talked on Monday about Deshaun Watson finally getting the resolution to his suspension, that he was suspended for 6 games, with the caveat that both sides had 3 days to appeal that decision in the last hour, as of about 6 p.m. Eastern time. Within the last hour or so, the NFL has said they will be appealing the decision from the judge, Sue Robinson, her 6-game suggested suspension. They will be pushing for the indefinite minimum of a year with stipulations he has to hit to come back into the league down the line. And that case will go from an impartial third party of Sue Robinson to an impartial third party who is the commissioner of the NFL, who's not really that impartial. We mentioned that this is a new process going through the judge and the court system, Sue Robinson and the like. That was a new process from the new collective bargaining agreement, and the first instance it is used is now going to go back to the old way, where Roger Goodell ultimately has the decision to do whatever the hell he wants. And a key part to remember here is Deshaun Watson has said, I don't know, about a month ago, if you suspend me for a year or more, I'm suing the NFL. So I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that Deshaun Watson actually plays all of 2022 because the league is going to suspend him for a year or more. He's going to sue. It's going to get he's going to get a stay in court. They're going to push this out so they can hear the entire proceeding, and he will be able to play all of this year. And then in 2023, the fallout will actually finally possibly hit, because we don't know what's going to happen then. So lot of story there to unpack, Joel, and that's just from the last couple hours.
Yeah, because it's one of those things that on Monday I ended up saying I'm sort of feeling like this is just chapter one in a very long novella, and guess what? Here's chapter two, kids. As of course, the NFL announced Wednesday that it was appealing the 6-game suspension of the Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson, seeking a tougher penalty under the league's personnel conduct policy. As of course, during the hearing that Judge Robinson has ascertained and determined that Deshaun Watson has, at least I think there's 3 different ways and 3 different varieties, at least, of personnel policy violations of the code of conduct that apparently did occur. And this is probably what the NFL is using. And my one thing that I'm taking away from all of this is I'm kind of confuzzled that if you have the NFL that's going to appeal the decision that was laid down, this was the same decision that we remembered the NFLPA says, okay, well, hey, we're supporting whatever the judge says, and we implore the NFL to do the same thing. Okay, well, hey, it's a small suspension. So it's what the NFLPA is happy about. But of course, we remember if we go back to Pro Football Talks original post about maybe 2 or 3 months ago, saying that initially the NFL was going to pull for a full year long, if not more, if not indefinite suspension, parlaying off, of course, the whole Trevor Bauer insane situation that happened in the MLB recently that sort of set a tone, a sort of an expectation that if that hadn't happened, we might not be talking about this and such the way that we are. But now all of a sudden, it's not a shot for a 6 game suspension. Now we're talking, okay, guess what? The case is going to continue. It's not over by a long shot yet. It could be what happens when it goes to court, as Deshaun Watson, of course, has said that if the NFL does sue him, does suspend him for a year, he's going to sue. Which now this looks like more of a chance that's going to happen. So, if that does happen, and you have the legal case play out in the courts, how does Deshaun Watson play football while all that is going on in his eligibility, his status, his for when the season is still in doubt? As yeah, this is just one of those situations that you're trying to figure out. Okay, is it going to be 6 games? Is it going to be more than 6 games? Less than a year? Is it going to be a year? And is this something that is going to be settled and hashed out before the season begins? Because this is a mess of if you're the coach of the Cleveland Browns, how the hell are you supposed to plan an offense if you don't know who your quarterback is going to be? This is absolutely freaking nuts.
Yeah. So let's start here. I think most people would agree that 6 games felt light. 6 games and no fine
Just a
felt
little
like, yeah. So here, this is for Jake
for
Trotter from
20
ESPN.
possible 25 sexual violations that we're talking about here. 6 games.
Yeah. So this is per Jake Trotter of ESPN. Um, the NFL had until today or the end of the day to submit their appeal. What they are going for is a suspension that would be a minimum of 1 year, as it had previously sought, a monetary fine, which Watson was not levied initially by Robinson, and treatment that the star QB must undergo that would be before reinstatement. The union had the right to appeal, but declined to. They said they're going to stand by the decision. Again, this is a new process they were trying to empower. And also, I think they were like 6 games for all of that. Yeah, we're good. The NFLPA has until Friday to file a written response to the NFL's appeal. And the NFLPA was preparing to sue the NFL in federal court if it appealed Robinson's decision. Regardless of what they're going for, an appeal was going to be sued. Because again, now we're getting into the labor practices. The contract for the CBA is a labor union contract. You cannot violate that. Now, given the procedure is in there that this can go to Roger Goodell, but it's not a good look the first time you do it to say, look, he put it in there, he put this in, he screwed us, he didn't negotiate in good faith, is something I expect someone's going to bring up in the next few months, that the union was not being negotiated with in good faith with the ownership group. I feel bad for really one person in this. Because this came down at 4 p.m., Deshaun Watson was on the field when the news broke. A team official had to go onto the field and inform him of the NFL's decision. So they had to literally walk up to him and said, hey, they're going to try and suspend you for a full year. So I feel bad for that person. Browns, no comment so far. So we'll see where this goes from here. But Deshaun Watson, as of right now, is not suspended technically because, once the appeal is in place, that suspension's kind of on the back burner. And they're going to sue to file an injunction to make sure that doesn't go through. So that being said, right now, Deshaun Watson, I believe, is going to be eligible to play week 1. And yeah, this is going to be a very interesting saga going forward.
Yeah, just you're just trying to figure out how people out there who are trying to either make a futures bet, you're trying to. I don't even want to think if you're trying to include the Cleveland Browns in any kind of fantasy football as far as quarterback is concerned. That's to be one of the biggest things out there. That if you have a 10 or 12 foot pole, you're not even touching this team with that right now on your draft board. You're not going, okay, yeah, Deshaun Watson or Jacoby Brissett. Yeah, I know. I would almost go with Marcus Mariota or even Baker Mayfield right now, or even just wait for Tom Brady as what an utter complete dumpster fire of a mess. If there's any representation out there of the yeah, hey, dumpster fire, this is fine right now with the dog. Yeah, right now it's got to be the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, they're. I mean, the Dolphins are doing a good run of being a dumpster fire organization. The Browns have kind of had that market cornered for a good long while, and this it just makes sense. And the Browns spend all this money, trade all this draft capital away to get a guy who may or may never see the field foot out. Now, there is also the other end of it where the NFL might owe the Browns some draft picks back, and I think that's way, way down the line if they really screw the Browns over here because they traded a ton to the Houston Texans, but a lot of these draft picks are going to be hitting in the next couple of months when we get to the NFL draft in April. So I think they're going to have to come to some level of conclusion before before the draft starts. So maybe that's something on the back burner there.
Yeah, so just an absolute mess trying to figure out what the bleep is going to happen, whether it's 6 games, more, the year, is the season just pretty much gone, what we all thought of 3 months ago. Who the bleep knows?
Yeah, it's another long saga coming. Especially once this goes to federal court. Now, the good thing is we might actually get the evidence put into the public sphere, stuff that is under oath and documentation, the stuff that they said wasn't enough to file criminal charges may get put out there. Maybe we see that Deshaun Watson is as much of a scumbag as these 25 women are accusing, and maybe we see the exact opposite where it's like, wow, this guy got screwed. I don't expect that latter. I really do expect the former. If you've read the Sue Robinson decision, it sounds pretty damn guilty that Deshaun Watson's a complete and total scumbag, but that's a different thing. So a lot of that should come to light. We should get more information, and yeah, it's going to be a very interesting situation to see unfold in the next couple of months and possibly year. But Deshaun Watson very well may be eligible to play week 1 this year. And this takes a while. The legal system tends to take a while. He might not see a suspension until at least 2023.
How happy do you think Baker Mayfield is to be the hell out of there?
I can't imagine what Baker Mayfield feels right now because he was a franchise guy. He turned that team around. Is he Pat Mahomes? Is he Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady?
He got him to a playoff win over the
He
Steelers.
got them into the playoffs remember, he was drafted after a 1-31 stretch with this
In one
team.
of the most wackiest, craziest playoff games I think we're ever going to remember actually occurring, but still, he got him a win.
Yeah, he was drafted after 2 seasons with a combined record of 1-31, got them into the playoffs and a playoff win over arch rival, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's not negate that.
Before
right there.
Baker Mayfield, the meme of you have the last name of the quarterback, and you have so many names going.
Yeah, it looks like this board right here with the names coming off the back of the Tim Couch jersey, who was the original. Yes. So as far as Baker Mayfield's concerned, he hasn't been doing great with the Panthers, but it's a new team, new system, whatever. Don't read too much into that until we get a little closer to season and see him in preseason.
Still is going to have to do better than Deshaun Watson, who hasn't played football for how long?
And might not play for however long we know. We don't know. We'll see what goes on with it, but I can't imagine Baker Mayfield's not sitting there today going, "Oh, the Browns." He's got to be happy to be in Carolina.
Yeah.
I
Don't
think,
think Progressive is going to offer Deshaun Watson at home commercials.
yeah, I can't imagine that going. Him and Baker Mayfield meet at Progressive Field. Baker Mayfield hands him the keys, and Deshaun Watson has to say, or the commercial's invalid. Hey, I have to let you know I'm a sexual predator because that's what you have to do if you're a sexual predator. Progressive won't make that commercial, but
And
they
he gets
could be accurate.
he gets a buzz and he picks up the phone and it's somebody from Instagram. Okay.
Oh, I'm not into marketing, but that needs to be like a meme commercial somebody makes.
The
Go,
next Super Bowl commercial, which the NFL, of course, will probably never permit.
yeah, just be like, all right, man, it's time to go. And they pass it over. And it could be, they could be the two of us in a jersey for Deshaun Watson and a jersey for Baker Mayfield for the Browns, handing off the keys. And he's like, yeah, the security code is 6, and going over all the stuff in the commercial. It's like, yeah, I'm just looking forward to it. I'm gonna change the security code. Oh, by the way, I'm a sexual predator. I just gotta let you know because you are. I live here now because yeah, everything went on. So a little bit of a tangent. That was a little bit of fun
That,
for us.
that would be interesting to figure out how. I'm not sure if I would want to live in a football stadium.
No, I mean it's one of those things you think would be cool, and there's a commercial where they're playing video games in the jumbotron, and don't be wrong, that'd be fun, and you could always go out and screw around on the field if you live there. But I think it
That'd
would
be
get
a,
old real quick.
that'd be a hell of an electric bill.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would not be ideal. So, just when you thought Deshaun Watson drama was over, it reels everybody
It's
right
just
back.
getting started, kids.
So. That is why we came back on short notice to do a podcast today. Joel, do you have a final thought or not so much?
Actually, I have a final thought just because I thought that Vin Scully's final words as a Dodgers broadcaster, this is just sort of one of those inspirational things that you hear like, okay, it sort of gives you hope for the universe. And with your permission, I would like to go ahead and read them.
Go ahead.
Vin Scully's final words as a Dodgers broadcaster. Friends, with so many people have wished me congratulations on a 67-year career in baseball, and they've wished me a wonderful retirement with my family. Now all I can do is tell you what I wish for you. May God give you for every storm a rainbow, for every tear a smile, for every care a promise, and a blessing in each trial. For every problem life seems a faithful friend to share, for every sigh a sweet song, and an answer for each prayer. You and I have been friends for a long time, but I know in my heart I've always needed you more than you've needed me. And I'll miss our time together more than I can say. But you know what? There will always be a new day and eventually a new year. And when the upcoming winter gives way to spring, oh, rest assured, once again, it will once be time for Dodger baseball. So this is Vince Scully wishing you a pleasant good afternoon where you may be. As I know I end up watching one or two of that, but I got out the general feeling as that was just sort of one of those thoughts that you hear that you're like, okay, sort of one of those things that there is hope for the universe out there. And no, I have not turned over and become a Dodgers fan, but I'm sure I've heard at least one or two games. Vince
Yeah.
Scully, when because you're like, okay, because I realize like, okay, well, how good can this guy possibly be? And you sit down, plop your butt down, turn on the game, you're like, okay, this guy is pretty damn good.
Yeah, I mean, as far as commentators go, there's not many names that are more recognizable and voices that are more recognizable than Vin Scully. Maybe Dick Vitale could be the
It's
entirety of the
awesome,
list.
baby, with a capital A.
Yeah, I mean that could be the entirety of the list. I mean, going back to like Harry Carey and some like that,
Or
different little
Renee
bit.
Cal.
Yeah, I mean, you might have a couple of names, but Vin Scully was going to be my final thought as well. So I think we'll just wrap on rest in peace to an absolute legend in the sports world. Even if you don't like baseball, you probably know who Vin Scully is. You've probably
You
heard
know
his
that
voice.
name.
You know his voice. You know his name. 67 years doing anything. Uh, just living 67 years is not a given. Having a career in a very competitive industry and a very interesting industry like sports broadcasting, absolutely unbelievable. So rest in peace to Vin Scully. And let's just say with that, we are gone.